My name is Rosa C. Leonard and I'm 24 years old. Until a week ago I believed my life with Julian still made sense. Just quieter, smaller, more grounded than the version he performed for strangers online. We'd been together for 3 years, sharing a modest downtown apartment. I paid most of the bills. He called his work a brand. An Instagram lifestyle page with around 50,000 followers, built from curated coffee shots, hotel lobbies, borrowed watches and captions about ambition typed from our second-hand couch. I worked as a junior analyst at a tech firm. Ordinary job. Stable income. Nothing dramatic, nothing I ever felt I needed to justify. At least not until Julian made me start feeling like even ordinary was something to be ashamed of. It happened at Anastasia's rooftop party in the Marina district. One of those events where people mention second homes the way others talk about weather, and champagne costs more than a week of groceries. Julian had been distant all night. He drifted through the crowd, laughing too loudly with people in silk dresses and tailored suits, slipping easily into the version of himself he wanted everyone to believe in. At one point he asked me to bring him a drink. I crossed the rooftop and handed it over, but before I could even place it in his hand he looked at me differently. Not casually. Not absent-mindedly. With open contempt. And not just for me. For me in front of everyone. "Babe," he said, smiling as if we were sharing a joke. "Sabrina was just telling us about her new Porsche Taycan. How's your Honda Civic treating you?" A few people laughed. Sabrina, the woman beside him with perfectly styled dark hair, red nails, and a diamond bracelet that caught the light every time she moved, tilted her head slightly. Like she already knew how this moment was going to play out. I recognized her name. Julian's ex. Ancient history, he had once said. Apparently history had expensive taste. "It gets me where I need to go," I said evenly. Julian's smile widened but his eyes didn't warm at all. "That's exactly what I mean," he said, turning to the group as if I wasn't standing there. "Rosa works a 9 to 5. She can't afford my lifestyle. I need someone who can actually keep up." For a moment the rooftop didn't move. The laughter stopped in that particular way it does when people decide something is entertaining, but also dangerous enough to enjoy quietly. And then it happened, 20 faces slowly turning toward me as if I'd just become part of the performance he'd been building all night. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to defend myself, to remind him who actually kept our life running. Who paid the rent when his brand deals were delayed. Who covered groceries without hesitation. Who helped him buy the camera he used to film a luxury lifestyle he didn't actually live. Who stood beside him when his brand was nothing more than bathroom mirror selfies and borrowed confidence. Instead, I calmly set his drink down on the nearest table. "You're absolutely right," I said. His smirk hesitated just for a second. "I'm glad we finally agree on something," I continued. "Enjoy the party." Then I turned away. I didn't storm off. I didn't cry. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a scene he could later retell for laughs. I simply walked. Crossed the rooftop. Through the glass doors. Down 23 flights of stairs because I couldn't stand the thought of sharing an elevator with any of them. That night I didn't sleep properly. The next morning my phone lit up with 17 missed calls and a flood of messages that shifted between apology and blame. "Rosa, I was joking. You embarrassed me by leaving. Can we talk like adults? You're being dramatic." I didn't reply right away. Something in me had gone very still. Not calm still. The kind of stillness that arrives when you stop asking why someone hurt you and start paying attention to what else they've been hiding. 3 days after the party I started noticing his phone. Julian had always been protective of it. Now it lay face down more often than not, even when he went into the shower. One evening while he was in the bathroom blow-drying his hair, a notification flashed across the screen. "Can't wait for Thursday," followed by a kiss emoji. The contact name read, "Fitness Trainer." I actually knew his fitness trainer. His name was Harold. He was 63, married, and once told Julian stretching wasn't optional if he wanted to avoid injury. Tuesday, 6:47 p.m. Julian left the apartment in a black shirt and expensive cologne, telling me he was meeting his college friend Matteo for dinner. At 7:15 I opened our shared location. He had insisted we use it months ago. For safety, he'd said. He wasn't at Matteo's. He was at Catch, an upscale seafood restaurant downtown. At 7:22 I called Matteo. He picked up almost immediately, sounding relaxed, even cheerful. "Dinner?" he said, confused. No, I'm in Portland visiting my mom. Why? My grip tightened on the phone. Never mind, I said quickly and hung up. I sat in the dark living room for 45 minutes, watching city lights smear across the window like something unstable and dissolving. Julian came home at 10:30. He was humming. Smelled like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. How was Mateo? I asked from the couch without turning my head. Oh good, he said easily, kicking off his shoes. Same old Mateo, you know. I'm sure, I replied. He paused for a moment, studying my face a little too carefully. For a split second I thought he might actually see through me, might realize I wasn't buying any of it anymore. Then he smiled again. Too casual. Too practiced. Right? He said lightly before slipping into the bedroom as if nothing had shifted at all. But something had. That night sleep never really came. Instead, every detail I had brushed off over the past few months began lining up in a way I could no longer unsee. The sudden, urgent meetings with a manager I had never met. The new shirts he never wore around me. The shift from we to I in every sentence he spoke about his future. And the rooftop came back to me. The way he had laughed when Sabrina mentioned her Porsche, like he had been waiting for an excuse to feel embarrassed of me. By morning, one truth had settled in completely. The rooftop didn't change Julian. It revealed him. By Friday I had already made my decision. Not the emotional one. That had already happened somewhere between his smile on that rooftop and strangers laughing at my Honda Civic like it was a personal failure. This was something else. Practical. Quiet. Deliberate. The kind of decision made with steady hands and clean numbers. No more pretending I didn't understand what I already knew. I called my older brother Alexander. He worked in private wealth management, which meant he spoke like nothing ever surprised him, even when it should. We met at a small cafe near his office. He looked at me over the table the same way he used to when we were kids, and I insisted a scraped knee was fine. What do you need? He asked. I need to understand my options, I said. With Julian. His expression shifted slightly. And with the trust? I nodded. You've never wanted to touch it, he said carefully. I know. He didn't push. He just waited. Then I told him the part one had spent years not thinking about. My grandfather had left me a trust fund when he died, $2.3 million. It had been accessible since I turned 21. I had never used it. Not because I couldn't. Because I didn't want my life to be explained by it. I wanted to build something on my own terms. My job. My apartment. My small Honda Civic. My routines. My independence. My pride. Julian had never known. No one outside my family did. Alexander exhaled quietly, then took out his phone. By Tuesday things were already moving. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a revenge-fueled blur. In an orderly, professional way that felt almost unsettling in its calmness. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was planning freedom. Meanwhile, Julian stopped even trying to make his lies convincing. He came home later. Sometimes not at all. The explanations became lazier with each passing day. Crashed at Anastasia's. Phone died. Late brand meeting you wouldn't understand. Wednesday evening I found a receipt in his jacket when he asked me to grab his wallet. Hotel Monaco. Room service for 2. Champagne. Oysters. $847. My chest tightened, but my thoughts didn't scatter. If anything, they sharpened. That night, Julian sat on the edge of our bed for a long time, hands twisting together like he was rehearsing regret. Rosa, he said finally. We need to talk. I'm listening, I replied. He sighed like the weight of the world had personally inconvenienced him. I think we're in different places in our lives. I didn't react. You're a great woman, he added quickly as if that softened anything. But I need more than this. More than what? He glanced around the apartment like it had failed him somehow. I want a certain lifestyle. Events. Travel. Better circles. You're stable and that's nice, but I work a 9 to 5 and can't afford your lifestyle, I finished for him. He winced. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did, I said quietly. Then I looked at him for a long moment. And you were right. That stopped him completely. So you agree? He asked carefully. We should take a break. I agree that you deserve someone who can give you everything you want, I said evenly. This apartment lease is in my name. I'll need you out by the end of the month. The color drained from his face. What? Rosa, you can't be serious. I can't just move out. Where am I supposed to go? I stood, walked to the dresser and picked up the hotel receipt I had found earlier. I held it lightly between 2 fingers. I'm sure Sabrina, with the Porsche, has some ideas. For the first time since I met him, Julian had nothing to say. No smile. No clever line. No performance. Just silence. 2 weeks later he asked to meet for closure. He had been staying with Anastasia, posting carefully cropped photos of coffee shops and marble countertops, as if instability could be filtered into reinvention. I agreed. We met at the same rooftop bar where everything had started. Maybe it was poetic. Maybe I just wanted to see if the place felt smaller now that I wasn't the one shrinking inside it. I arrived early wearing a tailored cream suit Alexander had insisted I try on. Not because I wanted to impress Julian, but because I wanted to see what it felt like to take up space without apologizing for it. When he walked in he paused. Just for a moment. You look different, he said. New chapter, I replied. It wasn't a lie. Not really. I had given notice at my tech job. I was preparing to launch my own consulting firm, structured properly with Alexander's help and backed by the trust one had finally stopped ignoring. Julian sat down across from me. He looked tired in a way no styling could fix, like someone realizing the story they told about themselves was getting harder to maintain. Listen, he said, leaning forward. I've been thinking about us. His hand reached for mine. I didn't pull away immediately. I let him believe for a second that he still had access to me. I made a mistake, he continued quickly. I got scared. I thought you didn't understand the world I was trying to build. You were sleeping with Sabrina, I said. His hand froze mid-air. It wasn't like that. Hotel Monaco. Thursday. Messages from your fitness trainer. The perfume. The lies. Telling people we broke up months ago. His eyes flickered. Panic, then damage control, then something that almost looked like tears. Who told you that? I tilted my head slightly. Does it matter? A server arrived then, placing 2 glasses of wine on the table. I had ordered his usual, an expensive bottle he liked to pretend he could identify blind. Julian stared at it, then back at me. Why are you being so nice? He whispered. Because you taught me something valuable, I said, lifting my glass. You taught me I was living small to prove I didn't need anything. You taught me that the right person values you for who you are, not what you provide. I paused just long enough for it to land. And most importantly, I added, you taught me exactly who you are. His expression cracked. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I was awful to you. Can we try again? I'll be better. I promise. I set my glass down. 3 years ago you told me you loved me because I was real. Because I wasn't like people who flashed money around. You said you wanted someone grounded. I meant it, he insisted. Maybe you did then, I said. But you don't now. And I'm not going to be your backup plan because Sabrina turned out to be someone else's fantasy too. His brow tightened. What does that mean? It means you weren't the only person lying in your circle. I didn't explain further. I didn't need to. Sabrina's Porsche. The investor. The carefully constructed lifestyle that looked expensive but wasn't fully owned by anyone in it. It wasn't my story to unravel for him. I placed $300 on the table, more than enough for the wine and a generous tip. Then I stood. You were right on that rooftop, I said. You wanted a lifestyle I couldn't afford. His mouth trembled. But the part you never understood, I continued, is that I could afford it. I just didn't want to buy love from someone who was always shopping for an upgrade. I turned away. Behind me he said my name once. I didn't look back. 4 months passed. Julian tried for 6 weeks. Texts, calls, voice notes. Eventually he even showed up at Alexander's office, which was a mistake. Alexander had the emotional warmth of a locked vault when someone hurt his family. After that, the messages stopped. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard he moved to Los Angeles with Sabrina for a while. They lasted 2 months. Apparently she liked his attention more than his reality. Anastasia reached out as well, which I didn't expect. She admitted she had known about Sabrina and felt guilty for how much she had brushed things aside while it was happening. We met for coffee once. There was no dramatic apology, no villain confession. Just a woman who had been too comfortable around people who treated consequences like something that happened to other people. She wasn't cruel. Just careless in a way that becomes expensive for someone else. As for Sabrina, I heard through the same loose network of mutual acquaintances that the married investor's wife eventually uncovered everything. The divorce wasn't quiet. It wasn't clean either. Sabrina likely recovered. People like her usually do. I don't say that with bitterness anymore. Just clarity. And me, I'm doing better than I ever planned for. My consulting firm launched 6 weeks ago, focused on tax strategy for mid-market companies. It turned profitable faster than I expected. I choose my clients carefully. I choose my hours even more carefully. I choose my life in a way I didn't know was possible when I was still trying to fit myself into someone else's expectations. I moved into a penthouse in Russian Hill with a view of the bay. Not as a statement. Not for anyone else. Just because every morning light spills across the floor in a way that makes the day feel open instead of imposed. I adopted a rescue dog and named him Winston. He has no interest in ambition, branding, or social hierarchy, which is probably why we get along so well. I started dating again last month. Nothing defined. Nothing rushed. Just learning what it feels like to be seen without being evaluated. There is someone I've been spending time with. Malcolm. He's a marine biologist who gets genuinely excited about tide pools and once spent 20 minutes photographing a banana slug like it was a rare discovery. It was the kind of attention that doesn't perform. Just notices. Last week I ran into Julian's mother at Trader Joe's. She looked at me for a long moment, then apologized for her son in a way that felt heavy with things she had no control over. I told her there was nothing to apologize for. That things had unfolded exactly as they needed to. She hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for being kind." That was when I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Julian. Not at Sabrina. Not at any of them. They were just people making choices and living through the consequences, trying, sometimes badly, to figure out what matters when the noise dies down. Anastasia invited me to another rooftop party last month. Different place. Different crowd. I almost declined. Then I went anyway. I wore jeans and a simple button-down. No armor. No version of myself designed for approval. When someone asked what I did, I told them. No hesitation. No softening. They asked thoughtful questions. We talked about markets, structure, and why so many people confuse luxury with freedom. No one asked about my car. No one cared about labels. At one point I stepped away and found myself near a corner of the rooftop that looked almost identical to the place where everything had started unraveling. I stood there for a moment expecting something to surface. Anger, embarrassment, maybe even echo. Nothing did. Only gratitude. That night hadn't broken me. It had stripped away everything I was pretending I needed. The need to be chosen by someone who was always looking for something newer. The need to shrink so someone else could feel bigger. The need to earn respect from people who confused attention with value. Sometimes I wonder if Julian replays it all. If he hears his own words and recognizes what they cost him. But most days I don't think about him at all. I think about Winston's ridiculous sleeping positions. I think about Malcolm laughing mid-sentence when a wave hits his boots. I think about the proposal I'm preparing for next week. And the quiet certainty of mornings that belong entirely to me. That is what it came down to. Not revenge. Not proving anything. Just this. A life that no longer requires permission. And it turns out I could afford it all along.